Velocipastor is definitely one of the films of all time. It is a film that I don't think we can tie down to one single genre because it just covers so many different bases that, no other film could ever really top, like, your Interstellar, which could just never compare to Velocipastor. But that's just common knowledge at this point, However, for the purpose of this video, and the assignment that I'm making this video for, I'm going to call it a superhero movie. In this film, our main protagonist that we follow, his name is Doug Jones, and he is a priest at his local church. Catholic church. Remember that. Spoiler warning. In this film, we follow our main protagonist, known as Doug Jones, who is a Catholic priest for his local church. He is a devotee to God, He's a real religious guy. He'd be... Well, never mind. Whatever. But basically, one day, after he's done giving prayers on his, his Sunday church day, all that jazz, he walks outside. To his surprise, he sees his parents. He hadn't seen his parents in a while. He was so shocked. And then, as we see the excitement on his face, he's really, really excited to see them. We then cut to a different shot. They're waving and all that. They're happy, But then, suddenly, disaster strikes. A fiery explosion engulfs his parents. Show a clip of that fiery, intense explosion here. Yeah. This is a very low quality and low budget film, so don't expect much if you plan on watching it. Seeing his parents killed in such a brutal and, tragic accident that we totally saw, and wasn't just a placeholder of a flame/fire explosion of the car. He did what any normal person would do, He's like questioning his faith. He was maybe like, maybe God's plan isn't real. Did God plan for my parents to die in an explosion? I don't know, maybe they did. So, he made the informed decision to travel to China, which was interesting, by car from the US. I don't know how that happens, but anything's possible in this movie, I guess. Now that he's in China, he goes for a little stroll in a forest. During his little walk, his detour, his vacation, he sees two people running through the forest. One woman holding a weird looking stone artifact looking thing, and another man, a ninja, with a bow, trying to shoot her down. He sees her go down, like the arrow goes through her chest, it's like, and then he runs over to go help her, and her dying words, she gives him this rock thing that we then realize is a velociraptor claw or talon, which, who's he to question it? He wants this woman to know that her dying words were meaningful, I guess. So now, our main protagonist man, Doug Jones, Priest Doug, Father Doug. Now Doug has the artifact that he's been given, and he starts getting shot at by the ninja, so he has to try and run away. He trips, and he slices his hand open on the Velociraptor talon, which then goes into this Winter Soldier moment. Well, not really. It's closer to Spider-Man getting bitten by the radioactive spider and then just turning into Spider-Man, basically. He starts transforming into... Well, we don't see it in this scene, but he starts turning grey, which you will see a lot of times because, you know, this was a very overused shot. Like, they used the same shot like 3 different times. You know, rule of thirds and all that. I'm sure that's exactly what that camera shot means. But we are led to believe that he killed the ninja after he turned into a dinosaur. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, right? From this point, this is basically when the movie starts most of its like shenanigans and all that about fighting crime and doing superhero things, because this is a superhero film. It is a superhero film, but much like any other superhero film, something that I missed out in the introduction that I've just spat out, kind of just like word vomited, honestly, I should probably redo it. Just like any other superhero film, there is this little cutesy romance subplot with a character. However, what differentiates most romance subplots from this one, you know, we see in Spider-Man's Mary Jane, we see in, what was her name? What was one from Superman? I'll check that real quick. Louise Lane. However, like I said, something about the Velocipastors one, its little romance subplot, is different from a traditional sense of a superhero film one, is that we know that Doug is a Catholic priest, which means that he can't do some things and he can't support some people. And the issue we find is that, spoiler warning, over the movie, he develops feelings for a woman who is a prostitute, which, you know, interesting choice. The romance subplot is between a woman named Carol. Now with Carol is a prostitute, which means that Doug does not support that, as he's a man of God, you know, like, he can't support that. That's sinful. How dare she? But the way they first meet is when Carol is like walking in this like park. This guy like comes up to like rob her. But as it's happening, the transformed Velociraptor version of Doug just rips onto the scene, kills the burglar, and we get this little shot of the burglar's like head just rolling past Carol. She takes him home, and after which they then revisit the park, where she said that she had buried the body of the man Doug killed in leaves, as she didn't know what else to do with it. But there's this little scene between Carol and Doug, where Carol reveals to Doug that my cat is in my room. Stay tuned. Say hello to Milo, my cat. She's not very happy right now. I'm gonna let her out of my room real quick, and I'm gonna finish recording. Right, so Carol reveals to Doug that she's a prostitute, which goes on like this little tangent where Doug essentially just insults her and has like this little meltdown, which was a really funny scene where he says, quote, touch not thy sinning hands, to which Carol is like bewildered by like his interesting use of words. You know, he could have formulated that sentence a little better, maybe. But that's going to end the intro. Was that a smooth transition or what? I know, I'm like a professional videographer and all that jazz. Ooh. This is going to be a little segment about me talking about the similarities between Peter Parker and Doug. Our two people from completely unrelated films, but still kind of related in the same topic, that they're both superhero films, so I'm claiming them to be superhero films and they've got like similar subplots. Okay, so first similarity that I mentioned kind of for like very briefly was how the claw that Doug had been like sliced his hand open on was similarly changing that he could do his superhero abilities now. Similar to how when Peter Parker was bitten by the radioactive spider in whatever the hell movie they have in every movie, canon event. Essentially, they were both inflicted wounds by, I guess, part of an animal, which then allowed them to have their superhero powers, which then they both used it to fight crime with. Past that point, they then both meet a woman who enthuses them to use their power for good, and then they both fall in love with their love interest respectively, and they live happily ever after, not Spider-Man. Okay, small detour covered. I'm now going to move past that little segment thing about Peter Parker and Doug into this new segment. This is the core segment, guys, that I'm going to deem, I wrote a note for this, I now deem this section notable scenes that I quite enjoyed for either cinematography or due to humour being injected into the scenes, or NSTIQEFECODTHBIITS for short. I know. It's really windy outside. That sounds scary. Hold that thought. I'm back. Wind stopped for now. Hopefully it doesn't continue again. However, I'm now going to get back into NSTIQEFECODTHBIITS because, you know, get it? Because I was supposed to like abbreviate it to make it like a kind of short and snappy, you know, abbreviation. But, you know, I instead just took the first letter of every one of the words and put it all in a line. So the comedic effect is that there's no punchline and it's just very literal. So anyways, continuing on with NSTIQEFECODTHBIITS. The first scene I like to talk about is this little like montage between Carol and Doug. It's like a flashback. But the best part about it, epilepsy warning. This is your warning, epilepsy warning. This scene alone could kill an epileptic person because they just slammed every shot of everything like within like milliseconds of each other. I'm gonna play the clip now, so this is your warning, epilepsy. Mind you, this scene was completely irrelevant, in my opinion, because not only did they just cram every shot of Doug and Carol into milliseconds of footage, like as small of cuts as the editing software were allowed, it was just completely unnecessary, because not only did it not add anything, but they just did it because they wanted to, I guess. Another scene that I like to cover in NSTIQEFECODTHBIITS is this scene where this Chinese drug lord Christian church guy essentially speaks Chinese? Mandarin? I genuinely... Okay, I don't know if I should make a point about this actually, because I'm I'm not Chinese, but I'm like almost 93% sure that what he's saying is just not Mandarin at all, and he's just saying stuff. Don't call me out if that's wrong. I should fact check this real quick actually. Please hold. Okay, I'm back, but for all intents and purposes, I'm gonna just say that he is speaking Chinese, because I don't want to be racist if he is not or is speaking Chinese. However, when I did put his like speech into Google, what it gave me back was just nothing near what he was saying at all. Like the syllables are completely different. Let me just I'll put two examples. This is me pleading my case. If I'm wrong, don't say I was being rude or anything, because I just genuinely don't know. But Google Translate.
正帝仅限信徒圣阿尔特弥斯学院來杯茶嗎？
Movie.
新澤西啊，呢度係開智開光聖 Artemius Academy。飲啊！
Anyways, the last scene I'm going to note in NSTIQEFECODTHBIITS is we see a flashback from a character named Father Stewart, who is another priest at the Catholic Church that Doug went to, used to be a pastor at before turning into a dinosaur. But basically what happens is it's this flashback to the Vietnam War, which was just comedically played out. Hold on. I need to read this again. I forgot how it went. So it's the scene between Father Stewart and this guy named Ali, who are best time war buddies, but basically the essence of the scene was Father Stewart showing a picture of his partner, spouse, wife to Ali, and then said, "This is who I'm fighting for," or something along those lines, while they're both commemorating and just reminiscing over, how they're going to do, what they're going to do after the war's over. Ali starts going on this tangent about how he wants one of Stewart's kids to be named after him, saying something, hold on, I wrote it down here, never mind. But the main essence was that he wanted Ali to be the name of Stewart's, Father Stewart's future child with the woman that he had showed to Ali. But as Ali's going on this little speech about naming a kid after him, he just gets shot in the neck, which essentially just traumatizes Father Stewart at this point, before they just run off and the scene cuts. I moved, I'm no longer sitting down. But anyways, second half of this little scene montage thing was when Father Stewart returned back to his camp in Vietnam. He saw the woman that he had the photo of running to him from out of a forest. He starts screaming, "Adeline! Adeline!" And they back and forth. It's "Stewart! Adeline!" And they keep going back like that. And then Adeline, the woman that Stewart was obviously in love with, just starts sprinting towards Stewart. And in the most, essentially what happens is as Adeline is running along, right? She's going just straight towards Stewart. It's a beeline for him. She's one step away from him, and then she trips a landmine, blows up in this, she just turns to a red mist, and then just coats Father Stewart head to toe in just blood. Now, the budget for this film was, I think, $36,000 or $35,000, and I'm pretty sure this is where the majority of that budget went, because this is a really funny shot. We're going on to the next section, so stay tuned for that. I believe that brings us to the end of my favourite section of today's video. I forgot it again. Please wait. NSTIQEFECODTHBIITS for now. Okay, conclusion time. Overall, this movie was so much fun to like rewatch, watch all over again, just pick up on like everything that happened. I think in conclusion, this movie really is just like nothing else. Like, there's just not one movie I've seen that's like this. It's just very uniquely low budget. Like, there are low budget films, and then there's like low budget films, right? But the difference between them is, I guess, passion. And there's a lot of passion in this film. You can really tell. A lot of care went into all of the shots and all that. Everything seems so like, no one was really taking it seriously. This was made to be like a fun project for someone. And they really did well, because they made a lot of money with this film. Hold on. I don't know how much it grossed. Let me check that. Okay, never mind. So the information is not disclosed anywhere. However, for a film that costed $35,000 to make, and was this popular and got this much media attention, that someone like me would see it, gives me a feeling that it's definitely not, you know. They definitely made like quite a bit of money off this. But I would highly recommend this film to anyone who's got like a spare hour and 10 minutes, because it's just a really entertaining watch, and I really enjoyed filming this, planning this, writing a script for this. I did my best to avoid spoilers. However, the only bits I noted were funny bits, I guess. I missed out like a lot of characters about... Okay, no, I can't give spoilers now. I would rate this movie a solid 8 out of 10 Velociraptors, because it's not perfect, nothing is, right? It was such fun to watch that I would put it above so many other movies that I've also watched that just felt a lot more soulless and less care got put into them. I mean, like, the entire, I guess the Alien series, for example, has kind of become very mundane, to me at least. I mean, after the third movie, they just kept on churning more and more stuff out. It reminds me of that one image where, like, the cow is, like, being milked for, like, all it can, but, like, it's like just like a really skinny, small cow. I guess that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, and don't mind the horrible sound quality that I tried to fix, then you should like, subscribe, and I'll post more videos about stuff. Probably not movies as much as I do other stuff. This is really the first video on my little channel, you know. I don't know. Basically, if you like the video, you can just like talk. Thank you. That's about it. See ya.